Hello and welcome. I'm a specialist in modern hospitality operations, and I am absolutely delighted to welcome all students of Europe Hotel School to your online learning journey. Today, we're going to tackle one of the most vital skills for any hotel leader: how to master uncertainty. We'll be looking at strategic forecasting. So let's get started on strengthening your professional toolkit.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. First, we're going to break down exactly why leaning on just one forecast can be so dangerous. Then we'll explore a much better way, planning for multiple futures using what's called scenario planning. After that, we'll get even more precise by learning how to isolate the key drivers of your business. And finally, we'll bring it all home and see how to turn all this great analysis into confident, decisive action.
All right, let's get right to the core of the problem. For decades, the standard playbook for budgeting has been to predict the single most likely outcome. But in an industry as fast-moving as ours, well, that whole approach has a pretty critical and often very costly flaw. And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, think about it. If your entire strategy, your staffing, your purchasing, your marketing spend, if it's all built on just one prediction, what happens when reality decides to take a sharp left turn? You get caught completely flat-footed, stuck reacting to problems instead of leading through them. This slide really captures our industry's unique vulnerability. We are so exposed to all these external forces. You've got powerful economic cycles that can swing demand like a pendulum, sudden geopolitical events that can stop travel overnight, and right now, we're all navigating the storm of cost inflation and labor shortages. Any one of these can just shatter a forecast. So relying on a single prediction in this environment, it isn't just optimistic. It's a massive strategic risk.
So, if we know that pinning all our hopes on one forecast is way too risky, what's the alternative? Well, this brings us to a really powerful strategic tool that requires a pretty fundamental shift in how we think. It's all about planning for multiple possible futures. This right here is the core idea. Scenario planning isn't about getting a better crystal ball, it's about changing the question you're asking. The key principle we teach at Europe Hotel School is this: stop trying to predict the future and start preparing for multiple possible futures. It's this mindset shift from prediction to preparation that builds real, durable strategic resilience. So how does this actually work? Well, it's pretty straightforward. We build three core scenarios. Your most likely scenario is your baseline. It's your best data-driven estimate, a lot like a traditional forecast. Then you've got your best case, or your upside. What if a huge conference comes to town or a new airline route opens up? This forces you to actually plan for success. But honestly, the most valuable exercise is often defining the worst case. And this quote just gets right to the heart of it. It can be uncomfortable, right? Nobody wants to talk about what could go wrong. But confronting that downside risk, that is what separates truly responsible leaders from everyone else. It forces you to find your vulnerabilities and create contingency plans before you're in the middle of a crisis. It's about having those tough conversations when things are calm, not when the pressure is on. Now, let's build on that idea. Once we have our big picture scenarios, we can add another layer of focus, a layer of real precision. This is where we get into identifying the specific variables or drivers that have the biggest impact on our business. This is a fantastic way to see how these two tools fit together. Think of scenario planning like painting a big picture. It changes lots of variables all at once to create a whole new world. Sensitivity analysis, on the other hand, is your magnifying glass. It isolates and changes just one thing at a time, like your occupancy or your labor cost, to see exactly how much it moves the needle on your bottom line. So, what kind of levers are we talking about testing? Well, the big ones. For example, what happens to my profit if my occupancy drops by just 5%? What if our ADR goes up by $10? Or what if our energy prices suddenly spike by 20%? By testing these levers one by one, you discover which ones have the most dramatic impact, and that tells you exactly where you need to focus your management attention. And this is where it all comes together. Because let's be honest, all this analysis is totally useless if it just sits in a spreadsheet on a server somewhere. The entire point of this exercise is to drive clear, confident, and most importantly, pre-planned actions. Okay, so the absolutely crucial step is linking each of your scenarios to a set of predefined responses. You're basically creating a strategic playbook. So if market indicators start trending towards your worst case scenario, you don't panic, you just execute the plan. You implement cost controls, you freeze hiring, you get on the phone with suppliers. And on the flip side, if the best case starts to happen, you already have a plan ready to go to accelerate investment and develop your top talent. And that, right there,
is the ultimate payoff. This whole process doesn't give you some magic ability to predict the future. No, it gives you something far more valuable. It gives you confidence. It gives you the resilience to withstand shocks and the agility to seize opportunities. When you've already mapped out the possibilities and you know exactly how you'll respond, your decision-making becomes calm and deliberate. That is the very essence of strategic leadership.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. As a future leader in this incredibly dynamic industry, it's just not enough to hope for the best. True leadership is about preparing for the rest. Thank you.